Hello, lovelies. Welcome to Narc Free Formula. My name is Freedom. Thank you for joining me. Tonight's episode is a little bit personal. I've been to the doctors today, had a cancer cut out. Makes me think about my own mortality, and subsequently, stuff comes up. And I normally kind of don't really talk about my stuff so much as, narcissists in general. But today I thought I would tell you guys my stages that I went through with the narcissist to fall out of love, basically. And there's quite a few pages of notes, so bear with me. So, when you first fall in love with a narcissist, you fall madly, passionately, and deeply in love. You become one. Everyone knows that you're one. Your names go together. Everyone just says your names. Everyone knows that you're together. You are just one. But for me, when I look at our wedding photos, I can see how in love we were. I can see how in love I was. I don't know what. I thought I was looking at love. Maybe it was just an act of love. I don't know. If he's a narcissist, then yes, it is an act of love. But I look at our photos and I see what looks like two people who were in love. And yet, on the wedding night, the mask slipped. On the way from the car to the hotel room, after we'd been at the restaurant, we went to the hotel room, and when I got out of the car, some men were in a car in the car park, and he got angry with me. Apparently I was flirting with some guys on my wedding night. Obviously it's not something that would ever happen, but so his mask started to slip. So we went through these cycles and cycles of idolization where he'd love me, couldn't get enough of me. We'd do anything and everything for each other. But then the devaluation started. He'd flick lit cigarettes at me when he'd get angry. I remember one night him choking me. And I remember the doubt and the confusion that was starting to set in, and having to explain to him that love and fear don't reside in the same vessel. Not that anyone should have to tell, an adult that. But anyhow, I still loved, lusted, wanted, needed him. And so the cognitive dissonance set in. And the worst thing was that after the abuse, that he wanted me to always grovel, to kind of beg for him, to suck up to him, to perform sexual acts for him, to prove that I was sorry, to prove that I loved him. And the thing is that I would do it because I did love him, and I wanted to show him that I loved him. I was obsessed with him as he was with me, but I didn't know that he was a narcissist. So sex and punishment started to go kind of hand in hand. And, as normal things happen, relationships kind of have their ups and downs, and life starts to take its toll. And we had a high-risk pregnancy. And so he started becoming a little bit distant. And when the baby comes, he says that although he loves her, he leaves it all to me, all the looking after her to me. And one thing I remember really distinctly is we had to wait for 6 weeks before we could have sex again. And every night he hassled me for those 6 weeks until the night finally came that we could actually safely have sex, and he pretended to be asleep. I remember lying there with tears just rolling down my face, feeling so hurt and rejected, totally confused. And just, I had no idea. I had no idea what was going on. I had no idea that he was a narcissist. I had no idea that this was a pattern of behavior. I just thought it was all about me, that I had done something wrong. So when I try to talk to him about it, all he hears is criticism. He doesn't want to hear that. I'm not adoring him as much anymore. And between the baby and lack of sleep and us both working, you know, it was hard at times. It was hard. It was hard, you know, it's hard for any young couple dealing with that kind of thing. And we were a blended family as well. So, you know, we had my 2 children and his 2 children. So we had a lot of stuff kind of going on. But the thing is, my intuition starts picking up things. Literally 50,000 little things here and there. He denies them all. And so I start to doubt myself. But I still love him. You know, he's my soulmate, my husband, the father of my child. And when it's good, it's so good. But when it's bad, it's horrible. And so now my love is tainted with confusion, mistrust, and hurt. And this continues for years until one day I notice a little white mobile phone in the garage. And I think, whose phone's this? And I pick it up. And it's turned on and the internet's on, and I have a look and it's open to a dating site, and something in my mind just says run. And so I run. I literally take the phone and I run. I jump in my car and I drive, and I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just driving. So I drive and drive and drive, park the car, and I start going through the phone, and I'm reading and reading and reading about a whole secret life that my husband of 10 years is having behind my back that I had no idea about. And then he starts ringing my phone because obviously he's realized that his phone's missing it, and he knows that he's been busted, and he thinks it's over. So I'm in the car park reading the phone, and all of a sudden I hear this screech of the tires as this car pulls up. I start to try and lock my door, but he's yanked open the door and grabbing the phone off of me. I let him snatch the phone because I've seen everything I need to see. I can't unsee and unknow what I've already seen and what I know. So the mask has fallen off, and I see this man in front of me that is so rageful, just so full of hate and rage towards me that I actually feel terrified. And to be honest, he probably could have killed me that night had I not been in a public car park. There was literally people all around us. So anyhow, then he demands that I go to the bank and give him all my money. And I'm thinking, so what? I catch you out, sneaking around with other women, and now you're going to rob me as well? And the whole time my brain's going, and this is my husband of 15 years, and the husband, the father of my child, and this person is supposed to be my soulmate and my lover and my everything, and what the fuck is going on? Anyhow, my heart broke that day, as did my mind. Our future, our past, everything. A huge crack formed that day. But he managed to suck me back in. He managed to lie, con, and manipulate his way back in, and I gave him a second chance. So, the second chance. Well, the second time that I caught him out was about 3 months later after that. And then the third time, he placed an ad in Lecanto trying to hook up with someone while I was visiting my eldest daughter. I actually saw the ad. My intuition, you see, I'd gone from not trusting myself to then trusting my intuition. And my intuition said, as soon as you leave town, he's going to be trying to find someone. And the thing is, we were still sleeping together. It wasn't as though we weren't sleeping together. We had just spent a weekend in a hotel together. It's, sex had never been an issue for us. So why he was looking to have sex with other people was just so confusing. Anyhow, so I saw his ad with his name. No, sorry, not his name, but with his age and phone number, his actual phone number. And I remember telling my eldest children that day that I had to leave him. And it was literally probably one of the hardest things that I've ever had to do. But I realized then and there that, the person that I thought he was not the person that he actually was. I didn't have a word for what he was yet, but I just knew that who he was pretending to be, he was pretending to be a loyal man who would never cheat on his wife. He wasn't that man. So anyhow, between the gaslighting, the lies, and the drugs that he was keeping me pumped up with, I just couldn't think straight. And so one day I sent him a message from another phone, pretending to be a woman called Beck. Beck, who wanted to hook up for some NSA, no strings attached. And you know what? He fell for it. My heart broke a little more that day. Just when I thought it couldn't break anymore, he managed to break it just a little bit more. And do you know what? The most ridiculous thing about this next bit of story is, so I went away back to my daughter's house. She lives in the next state. She's an adult. She lives in the next state. I went back to spend some more time with her purely because I could not process everything that was happening. You know, I had to be away from him to be able to figure out what was going on. And anyhow, he sent me messages saying, you know, I've got a ring for you, come home. So when I went home, he presented me with this ring. He actually begged my forgiveness and asked me to remarry him. After we talked, I took the ring. I accepted his apology. I didn't, you know, agree to remarry him at all. But I took the ring as a sign of good faith, of his apology, and of his willingness to try and work things out. Because after all, you know, we'd spent so much time. And then within 2 weeks, we were finally over, and he was asking for that ring back so that he could pawn it, so he could pay the bail for his new supply who was locked up. So that is how my heart turned to ice. And he has the nerve now to say to me, oh, you're so cold and heartless. Is it any wonder? I mean, really, is it any wonder? There's only so many times you can lie to someone, tell them that you're not going to do it again, and then do it again. And the thing is, the reality is that I loved that man with every single fiber of my being, beyond any other love that I had known. I gave everything to him for years and years and years, and went above and beyond. And what I find fascinating is not only how quickly he replaced me, but how quickly he forgets. He forgets what he's done. He forgets all of the years that I was a loyal and good wife, all of the above and beyond that I did for him. He chooses to just forget all of that and rewrite our history together. But the thing is, I'm not a cold and heartless person. I'm cold to him, and I'm always going to be cold to him, because you don't get to keep hurting someone like that and expect them to hold a space in their heart for you. You know, it's just a matter of time before they finally say enough is enough. And I got to that stage. But, you know, the tragic thing is that even until the very final day that we went our separate ways, I was still hoping that he would realize and remember what we had and who I was and what he had with me. I was still hoping that he would remember and go, oh my God, that's right, that's worth fighting for. You know, but even though as he was leaving to go interstate with a new supply, he says to me, I would come back to you in a heartbeat. As his exact words as he's about to drive interstate with the new supply. I would come back to you in a heartbeat. But I didn't call his bluff, because I didn't want him to come back and do it to me all over again. I didn't want him to keep hurting me, keep trying to find new supply, keep coming back, hurting me again. I didn't know the words for it back then. I didn't know that it was all about supply. I didn't understand. So it was really confusing. But now I actually have the words and I understand exactly what happened. And the reality is that I'm grade A supply. I'm not that easily replaced. It took him years, and to be perfectly honest, he's not got himself grade A supply. He has a downgrade, which is why he says, I would come back to you in a heartbeat. But I'm never going to take him back, so he's got nowhere else to go now. So he has to make it work with his new supply. So yay for me for finally waking up and getting free. I mean, it literally took years, but once that mask slipped, from that mask slipping, it was probably 9 months, maybe 12 tops, from then to the final day of us being together. So anyhow, my darlings, that is how a heart breaks. Good night.